What's going on, webheads, and welcome back to day 7 of Spider-Pop's 25 Days of Christmas, Season 4. And today, it is going to be a pretty webtastic video. It's going to be actually our first full-length video regarding one of our projects that we've actually 3D printed on the new Spider-Pop's Fabricator that we have made a lot of shorts and stuff about on the Spider-Pop's Instagram and actually a new Instagram that we created known as Spider-Pop Industries. So I am actually pretty brand new into the 3D printing world, but we have been messing around with this 3D printer for the past couple months, and it has been extremely fun and also extremely challenging at the same time. But we've been able to make a few really cool things, and we've had one project in mind that we've been working on for quite a bit of time now. And if you guys have been subscribed to the Spider-Pop's channel for a little while now, at least these past couple months, you guys have seen that we have been actually in the process of building our very own full-size Lego Spider-Man helmet so we can be just as cool as Miguel's greatest asset in Across the Spider-Verse.
Boop, boop. Miguel, it's Peter. We got an anomaly.
We've ran into some difficulties along the way. I have right here the first iteration of the Spider-Man Lego helmet, and this one actually does come apart into multiple pieces, so you can't actually take off the different panels off, and it does actually just collapse into 4 different pieces. So that was something that I was tinkering with for a little while, but we did actually have to go almost completely back to the drawing board when we did actually start to paint this one, because as you can see, it is really warped right here. When we actually did start to paint this, it was a pretty hot day out, and the whole top of this Lego helmet did actually collapse in on itself, so I had to like reform it to be able to be at least as decent as it is right now. But as you can see, it is still not really a finished product. You can tell it is definitely a homemade Lego helmet, and at Spider-Pop Industries, we are trying to make our first really awesome and quality Spider-Man product. So we had to go back to the drawing board on this one, and after printing this one in PLA and finding out that PLA is really prone to melting in the sun, and if you were to like leave it into a hot car, we switched to a new filament known as PETG. And PETG, let me tell you, on at least my printer, the FlashForge Adventure 4 Pro, is an absolute nightmare. As you can see right here, we do have our current version of the Spider-Man Lego helmet, and as you can see, it is one solid piece. But just to get to this full state of a helmet, this is actually 12 different pieces printed out in PETG. And down in our 3D print scrap bin, I do have probably like 8 of these side panels that I tried printing out in PETG, and just one after the other just did not want to print properly. As you can see, even on this one, we have a bunch of issues just with the printing quality of the PETG. We do have some crazy layer lines and just a whole bunch of stuff that is not very ideal when you are printing PETG. One thing that is like very clear, I don't know if it will even show up on camera, but there's these crazy lines that come up in literally just one of the panels, and it's just been an absolute nightmare trying to figure out the specific settings. I think each one of these pieces I had to print on slightly different fan settings just to get them to print properly. As you can see, the top of the helmet right there, we have all of these imperfections right at the top that are really just issues that I haven't been able to figure out and sort out in my printer. But at this point, I feel like it can print good enough to where we were actually able to get all 12 of these pieces printed out and actually put together by melting and gluing them with the PETG glue. And in today's video, we are actually going to be trying to fill and sand this. We actually do have a kind of sandable and fillable primer that we're going to try to use to try to smooth out a lot of these imperfections. I want to get some scrap PETG that we actually weren't able to print properly and see if I can maybe make some of these seams and holes that are actually in the helmet a little bit more seamless, and then we can sand that down and actually get it closer to a final product by the end of today's video. So that's the goal for today. We're gonna go ahead and head on outside and try to finish melting this together, and then hopefully get it primed and get close to being able to paint it. But with that being said, we're just gonna head on outside and we'll see you guys out there. Alright, and we're out in the great outdoors, and we do have the Lego helmet right here. And first things first today, I ended up dropping this while I was showing this off to a few of my family members, and one of the seams that we actually did melt actually did come apart right there, so I do want to melt that back together. And we do also have to melt that part, and I believe those are the only parts that we do have to meld back together. It looks like it was just literally like these back 2 sections right here, but we are going to be trying something out today that I have not really seen anybody really try out before in the 3D printing videos that I've watched. But I do actually have some scrap filament from one of the unsuccessful Lego head prints that we actually did try to do, so I'm just going to try to take pieces off of this, and then I'm gonna see if I can use the wood burner that we've actually been using to melt these pieces together, and like this part right here where you can see it is actually dipping in because there wasn't really enough filament to actually fill the seam right there. I'm gonna try to put this right there and then try to melt them actually together to try to make it a stronger bond, and then hopefully it'll be more seamless once we actually are able to sand it and get the primer actually onto the actual Lego head. So I'm gonna give that a shot. So we're probably just gonna hit a quick time lapse here while I start melting these together, and then I'll let you know how it goes once we actually try out this melting process. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Alrighty, quick update. We actually did just melt a bunch of the excess PETG onto this, and actually I feel like it turned out pretty well in terms of filling the actual seam. As you guys can see right there, it's not nearly as noticeable as it was. Like, you can definitely tell I melted a bunch of PETG on there, but I believe after I sand it and we actually do put primer on it, it should be pretty seamless after that, which is what I'm actually going for. So I think I'm just gonna do a few more touch-ups and then go ahead and start recording once it's time to sand this bad boy. I think I got it sanded enough to where I can live with it, but it is still a little rough, so we're definitely gonna have to use a bit of that filler primer, and then we do also have some Bondo spot putty that I believe should smooth out a lot of those spots. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take this over to where we're going to actually paint it later on, and we're gonna put on a couple coats of filler primer, and then we're probably gonna sand that down and then put some Bondo on after that. And then by that point, it might be time to wrap up today's video, but we'll see how far along we are in the actual Lego head by the time we get to there. Alrighty, we got our painting station all set up. I have my 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer that I've seen a lot of people on YouTube and Instagram use when finishing their 3D prints, so hopefully it'll do the job for our Spider-Man Lego helmet here. But we're just gonna start off by putting on a few coats, and let's just see how it goes. As you guys can see, it was completely useless for us to get the PETG filament in red, seeing how we are covering up every single inch of red right now, but it's okay. We know that in the future I'll probably just end up getting white or black PETG filament for the next project we end up doing for Spider Pop Industries, but you live and you learn, and it's still gonna look pretty cool at the end. Alrighty, as you guys can see right there, we do have the Lego helmet. This is pretty much as good as we're gonna get, I think, with the fillable primer. So we're just gonna let this dry for a little while now, and then we're gonna come back. Oh, hold up. I see a little red. All right, now I think we are all good with the sandable and fillable primer, and we're gonna be coming back later once this is dry, and I'm gonna try to take some of that Bondo spot putty and try to actually fill in some of these holes and imperfections that you actually do see throughout the helmet right there. But all in all, I do think it did help fill out some of the imperfections quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to see how it actually does turn out once we're actually able to get all of the spot putty on there, and then we're actually able to sand it down to make it look nice and smooth. So, but yeah, we're probably gonna actually save the actual filling and the rest of the sanding of this helmet for our next 3D printing video for 25 Days of Christmas, and then by our next 3D printing video next week, we should have this Lego helmet pretty much finished up. The only thing we really have to figure out once we get it painted is how to get the stencil for the web lines looking nice and crisp, but we do have plenty of time to brainstorm while this bad boy is drying and we get all of the imperfections all sorted out in the meantime. So for now, we're just gonna go back inside while this bad boy dries and finish off this 25 Days of Christmas Season 4 video. Alright, we are back in the pop office right now, and right now the Lego helmet is currently out in the garage drying. We're probably going to have to wait at least a day before we're actually able to start putting in the Bondo filler, and before we're actually able to start smoothing it out and making it actually look more like a final product. Super excited for that. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Spider Pops channel so you don't miss out on next week's 3D printing video, and definitely make sure you guys swing on over for tomorrow's Day 8 video of Spider Pops 25 Days of Christmas. But with that all being said, that's going to do it for today's Day 7 of Spider Pops 25 Days of Christmas Season 4. So make sure you guys swing on by tomorrow, and make sure you guys are staying safe out there, staying frosty and having fun, of course. Have an amazing rest of your day, webheads. Bye-bye. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. It's on the tripod. It's on the tripod. There we go.